It's a big day, Chiefs Kingdom. I know you guys are excited. So are we. We're talking Kadarius Toney, acquired by the Chiefs today. This, it's been a while, but Seth is here. This is Chief in the North live. We're going to get into it right now, but I got to show the sweetness. Here we go. So classic. You are so classic in your professional attire. Welcome, folks. This is RGR Football. This is Chief of the North from Seth Kaiser, the Chief of the North himself. What's on, buddy? Are you excited?
I'm surprised.
Okay.
I'm excited. There are a lot of Toney is not a guy whose film I've ever watched, right? Outside of seeing the occasional highlights his rookie year or come draft time, people talked about him. Because I don't follow college football. It's one of my quirks, let's call it. I didn't have any preformed opinions on him, which is kind of nice. I'm happy to see them dive into a receiver. And most importantly for me, and this might sound a little bit goofy, I'm glad they looked for a friendly contract situation.
Yep.
Like that was like one of the first things, like, okay, former first-round pick, that's a Brett Veach special. But normally with those situations, it's like guys like in the final year of their deal. He's in year 2.
Yeah.
And he was a first-round pick, so he's got the 5th-year deal, or the 5th-year option. So you've got, in theory, and the 5th-year option obviously makes a big jump, but it's still not where the franchise tag is.
Ding, ding, ding.
And so in theory, you still have 2.5 full years of cost control, really 3.5. That's a lot. So, then the second thing is, man, the Giants were like, no, we're good. So there's a lot there. There's a lot to it. And so what I've been doing since then is just kind of going through his film a little bit and seeing what he shows. And I don't know. I want to hear what you think. But first, I just want to say that watching his film, you can see, I think people can see whatever they want to see when they watch his film.
There is a lot there. And I go back because I watched him in Florida. And folks, welcome to the channel. There's probably a lot of new folks watching us. You may be Giants fans, maybe you're Florida fans, but this is RGR Football. We cover the Chiefs and the NFL all the way around. So welcome. Hit that sub and the bell right now and give us a thumbs up if you like this, because we're going to get into the real about what it is. And I'm reading off of my evaluation right now. I said he can run out of the slot. He can run out of the backfield. He can do the jet. He can do everything you want a guy to do that doesn't play X, except he's kind of a knucklehead. That is literally my evaluation. And that is what it comes back to. And I think you see that same thing on film too. There's not as much as a Giant. There's way more as a Gator, and that's okay. But for me, this gives them 3 weapons inside that they can line up in the slot and do any of those things with in Mecole and Skyy and now Toney. I don't know what that means in terms of balance, in terms of reps. Is there going to be a slight degradation to the progression of Skyy Moore? We'll talk about that in a minute, because I actually don't think so. I think this is a way, much like you had to find a way to get Dexter McCluster involved, or you had to find a way to get Hall involved back in the day. There's a way that get him the ball and see what happens. You have to get creative. There's no better coaching staff in the league to do this than this one, is my thought.
Sure. He's got really, really, well, here, hang on. So I'm in the middle of going through.
Charting.
I'm going to look at 3 games from 2021. I'm done with 1. I've looked at the only game he had heavy snaps in 2022. I put that he has unique movement and cuts. It's not just that he's fast or quick, and he has both of those things, but it's weird. He is able to cut at moments that opposing players don't expect it, because he's able to kind of contort his body in a way that most opposing players can't, right? He can make a cut off of a leg that isn't quite planted to cut. It's goofy looking.
It's a plus.
But it helps him get separation, and it helps him be really impressive with the ball in his hands. He's very, very impressive with the ball in his hands. And that's one thing, like with like Dexter McCluster, for example, who was built smaller than Toney is, and didn't have the same top end speed, right? But he was really, really quick, but it was one thing, right? The one juke type thing.
Yeah.
And that was McCluster. He had one really quick juke, and sometimes that would work, sometimes it didn't. With Toney, it's more
Dan's
like,
going to make it. Sorry.
yeah. Hey, it's Dan.
What up?
Hey, so it's not just a matter of the one cut quickness. He can have multi-cut quickness, and again, it's weird. He can cut out of positions that other players can't, and it jumps out when you watch the film. The Giants don't do a great job distinguishing their wide receivers. It's like, like the one game I watched 2022, he was wearing 2 different colored shoes. I was like, thank you. Like, makes it so easy because he's not a physically distinguishable guy. You know what I mean? There's just not, he's not particularly big, but he's not particularly tiny either. So the movement is unique with the ball in his hands and without the ball in his hands. And you see that. You see that he's got good speed, which is kind of unusual for a quick guy to have a little bit of extra long speed. He's got an okay top gear, not like a crazy one.
Right. He's not Tyreek Hill, folks.
No. Well, and that's no one is.
Right.
That's not going to happen. I mean, Tyreek is probably one of the best 5 overall athletes to ever play in the league. You're just not going to find that guy. He's also with Toney, just a side note, just pick off the physical, right? He's stronger than he looks. Oh, hey, well,
thanks, Cruising.
That's very kind of you to say, I guess. But hey, you guys have a better record than the Chiefs right now, don't you? So I mean, it's hard to say. But
I was going to bring it back to that.
Yeah, you are where your record says you are. But he's also, and this is where, I mean, it's great to have Dan here. So maybe I'll throw this to Dan. Something that I'm seeing so far, and I'm going to probably be writing about him by tomorrow morning, maybe if I decide not to sleep tonight. I'm just not that hungry anymore. I leave that to the young guys like Dan to do stuff. I'm just like, I could probably publish it Saturday, right? Anyway, he's stronger than you'd think in terms of through contact and how he deals with physicality. And I think when you see those things together, you see really high level physical traits. And it's very obvious on film. I was curious what I'd see because some guys, they come into the league, like a Tavon Austin type guy who just jumps out on film in college. And then in the pros, you still see that high-end top speed, but you see all these other problems with things. With Toney, you don't really see that from a physical perspective. So, I mean, Dan, I assume you are already grinding, my friend.
Yeah, I'm going to have the film room up tomorrow. I'm hoping to record it tonight. So, Toney is, as a guy, like when I watched him at Florida, I was like, this guy is clearly the best athlete on the field, no matter who's playing. Like, it's obvious, and getting the ball in his hand is something you have to do. And when you talk about, like you said, him being through contact, it's different. There is a play that I watched that I'm not probably going to break down, but I'll let you guys know. First is that he's one-on-one on the outside. The ball is underthrown by Daniel Jones because he's running out to his right. He also doesn't have Mahomes' arm, so he can't get it there anyway. But he's also tracking the football before the corner is. He's looking for the ball. These are things that we see right now with Juju Smith-Schuster. He is looking for the ball before the corner is. He understands where his leverage is behind the corner to find those spots. He knows Mahomes is now starting to look for that. So there was a play where he's basically getting draped all over, and he fights through contact to get back to the football and catches it in bounds. Like, these are things that you're looking for. So a receiver that has a ton of athletic ability, but maybe is still putting the game together. There's lots of different tools, the quick change ability, the ability to separate. It's not consistent. The tools, you see all of it. Like, this could actually be something that, again, he's got to do the work to get to that point. But he flashes just about everything to be a complete all-around receiver in the NFL, in my opinion.
I like the way that you framed that. Hey, it's my show now, Ryan. Don't you try to I'm watch this. I'm gonna take it from here and I'm gonna throw it back to her. No, don't go to sleep. I swear I'm gonna talk to you. I think it's interesting the way that you frame that in terms of physically, he's got everything you need. Ryan, I'm curious if from a physical perspective, from either, what you do, the way you actually break down what's functionally useful on a football field, or with what you look at on film, do you see any areas? So let's take, for example, Mecole Hardman. He's got 2 traits that you would say, wow, that's a really big deal. Obviously, incredible deep speed, and he's got quicker feet than you'd think for a guy that has great long speed. Problem is, he can't run through contact at all. So, you find those things that don't work and not at all. Not you'd like.
I think we knew what you meant.
Anyway, or you see maybe going to the wrong spots, et cetera, whatever. Do you see anything on film from a physical perspective that makes you say, I don't think there's that shortage there that wouldn't allow him to be a consistent, plays, 75, 80% of the snaps type of receiver?
No, I don't. He can be a Z. He can't be physical on the line of scrimmage. I didn't see enough. Honestly, I didn't see enough reps against press man, but I certainly didn't like what I did see. He has enough long speed to be dangerous. He's not Mecole. He's not. I don't even think he's quite as fast as MVS, to tell you the truth. But
MVS is really fast.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not the same. But if you put Mecole and him together, in terms of their scores, and I don't have it in front of me, it's on another laptop I didn't get to before we got to the stream, folks. You put them together, and their matrices as a conglomerate are nearly identical to Tyreek's. The change of direction Toney has is very, very close to where Tyreek's is. And obviously, Mecole's got that long speed that is close to Tyreek's. Put them together, they are. Again, we're talking about in the aggregate, right? So I know it's tough, and I see questions, folks. We're going to get to your questions here in a bit. Even if Seth can't make it all the way through the stream, Dan and I will answer your questions, but he has to go home. For me, it's about how do you fit him in now? And I think that is primarily as a punt returner in the next couple of weeks, and then see what you can do with him. But I think this is really about what happens when Mecole's contract is up. Do you want to renew MVS? What do you do down the line? And then he can take that bigger role. Because I can see a version of Juju, Skyy, and Kadarius being your top three. Maybe you're adding another big X in terms of a draft selection, and now you've got a four guy kind of thing going again.
Sure.
I can see that down the line.
And you said Juju, Kadarius, and more.
Yeah.
And that's, because MVS's contract is essentially a 2-year one.
Yeah.
Barring him really exploding. And it's not that expensive in the third year either. But it just, it climbs a little bit, and that's just kind of how it is. So, okay. So Dan, how do you feel about a future? Just again, we're on La La Land right now. We'll come down to this year in a minute. We were already talking about his contract elements. The fact that right now, this year, he costs you, like a veteran minimum amount. Next year is 1.9. 2024 is 2.5. 2025 will be whatever the fifth year option is. So you've got lots of years of cost control here with him, which also makes it to where it just doesn't hurt you that much if it doesn't work out. Same with, you gave away a compensatory pick in the third round and the sixth round, a late round pick in the sixth. It doesn't hurt you that much. And the idea is, the ceiling for it is a lot higher than you'd think. And because he's so early in his contract, it's not the same thing like trading for even like a Brian Burns, who's in the final year before the fifth year option. So what do you think of a group that say does consist of like, of say Moore, Toney, and Juju Smith-Schuster? And do you think that this says anything about their long-term plans with Juju Smith-Schuster?
Honestly, it's hard to tell because especially if Juju keeps up what he's been doing over the past couple of weeks, I don't know if they're going to be able to afford him. Honestly, he's 25 years old and he could find himself a very good free agent market. Like that's very well within the reason of what's going on. The same with Mecole Hardman. I don't expect him to be back next year. He's going to probably price himself out. And I think that's what they're kind of looking at. They're like, okay, we got two guys on expiring contracts this year. Kadarius Toney is a really good player. You could find ways to utilize him. Maybe you coach him up. He can be a good receiver. Now they're turning to the future plan, whether that's going to be, I know a lot of people I've seen Justin Ross don't count on Justin Ross for anything. That is a lottery ticket. If it
He's
hits,
a cherry on top.
awesome.
If he makes it, it's great.
Exactly. I just don't count anything for Justin Ross, guys, and I'm sorry. I hope that he gets better, but the simple fact that they were like, you just get healthy. Just don't worry about playing. It just, for me, it's like, okay, we'll see what happens there. But you have multiple options with the draft, obviously. I think it does help push receiver down a little bit. You don't have to focus on it too much. But again, an X receiver, even with Juju in-house, you're still looking at trying to get more out of your wide receiver position, because I think that Juju has been, let's just say, he is not the yak player that everyone sees on stats right now. He's not. And I think a lot of it is Andy Reid saying, guys, we have so much else around him. We're just going to kind of put him in space and let him work. And also a bunch of missed tackles against the Bills, and he was able to take that to the house. So wide open against the 49ers kind of adds to that too.
It seems like there were some missed tackles against the 49ers too, almost like perhaps they're being forced.
That's my point as well.
Maybe
I disagree to an extent. So we'll just say that. But yeah, either way, I do think that they're going to get younger. They're going to get a little bit bigger. I think MVS might even be cut after this year, depending on their plans, because there is an out even after this year, if I'm not mistaken, for his contract. It was written kind of like that, to where if it doesn't even work out this year, they have reason to say, oh, we don't want to worry about that. But there's a lot of different flexibility with this wide receiver crew. It's getting younger, obviously, and they're doing a good job of bringing in players that other teams don't want. And I'd be willing to bet that Mike Kafka was involved somewhat in this situation, whether they called and talked to him about where he was at in terms of Kadarius. So yeah, there's a lot of talent. I think he and Skyy bring a lot of versatility to what they can both do, because I do think that Skyy can play an X type of role with the way he can release, and you can still use him and Toney in also a slot/Z. So if you have Juju, who also, by the way, has been playing more on the outside this season than he did the last like 3 or 4 in
back shoulder throw, baby.
So yeah, we got a lot of stuff here, and I like it.
Yeah, my only distinction with what you just said is I still wouldn't call them X's. You know what I mean? Like they could line up against
the role,
man.
you know.
Yeah,
it's the role.
Okay, cool. Because like I don't want to trot them out there in like 60 or 80% on the line of scrimmage. You know,
ever. No.
Yeah. Okay. So we're all in the same space there. So they still need a bodied X at some point, whether it's MVS or a replacement.
The thing is, would you call MVS a high level X?
No, he's a replacement level player in that role.
Right.
Would you, Seth?
I don't know.
Okay.
And that's the thing where it's actually kind of bothered me to an extent how they've used MVS in some of the games to date. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that's why they're waiting for Juju to kind of round into form in certain things and that kind of stuff. But like they're asking him to maybe make a contested catch, maybe try to block off someone with his body. He is a big bodied receiver, but that's not his game, and it never has been.
Yeah, right.
Beating physicality at the line is not necessarily his thing unless he's looking to get to a go or a post, get to the even, leave it. He can do it, but it's just not. I mean, he's a deep ball guy. He is a deep threat. Mm-hmm. What we saw against the Niners, 3 catches, 111 yards. That's how him. You're using Marquez Valdes-Scantling.
Exactly.
Valdes-Scantling correctly. You are using him correctly when he is averaging about 30 yards a catch or more, and he's maybe caught 3. Yeah. And that's just and to be fair to him, there's multiple other chances that Mahomes has missed him this year. That's why he underthrew him. He even said that in press conference, like, I am not overthrowing this dude again. Because that would have been 6 had he not.
Yeah.
But and so if Mahomes hits even 2 more of those this year, suddenly he's close to the Chiefs' leading receiver, and with maybe a couple touchdowns, and people are talking about him very differently. But he's not an X. He's a good deep threat. He's not. I like the way you framed it. He is a replacement level X in that role.
Yes.
He's not a replacement level deep threat. It's hard to find good deep threats.
True.
But it is. I wanted to point out you were 100% right, Dan. So next year, MVS's contract. I'm not saying I want the Chiefs to move on. It's just worth noting. Next year, he's got an $11 million cap hit. However, his dead cap is only 4. So you got a $7 million savings there, buffer, depending on how you're feeling about the rest of your group. And that's a good place to be with a player like him, because he's a guy like, oh, no, we want to keep him around. It's worth it because we're a little nervous about our depth. Fair enough. If you're comfortable enough with your receiver group to cut a guy like MVS who has a skill set to save $7 million, that means you're in a very strong position. Mm-hmm. And I think that's with Toney. That this is not a this year push for the Super Bowl move. It could be. Mm-hmm. I mean,
the next one could be.
Yes. Yeah, right.
There's a lot of the next move.
Yeah, the next move. Yeah.
Yeah, the next move. The next move. I've already called it. They're going to trade for DeForest Buckner for a 2nd and a 5th. So I'm kidding, people. That will never ever happen. They're fighting for their lives in Indianapolis to hang on to their jobs.
Yeah.
It's a
Thank you,
fantasy. It's just kind of
Sam,
a thing.
Sam Ellinger really sells the fighting for their lives aspect for the Colts.
I mean, I really loved Sam's work when he was at the Star. And
that's great.
I can't. Poor Sam. Sam has struggled since this happened, by the way. He is just like, he texted Briscoe some version of like, this is the worst day of my life. Like, some people won't leave him alone because Sam is just the best dude. But anyway,
that's funny.
Yeah, but they're fighting for their lives. They're not selling because they might be in trouble. The brain trust there in Indy. Yeah. So you fight for your life there. But I don't know what their next move is. But with Toney, we'll see what they can get him involved with this year. We'll see. It's hard to catch on in Andy Reid's offense. You know what he can do right away? Return punts. I have gotten so upset watching the fan base turn on Skyy more.
Right.
And look, he did not properly wrap that route on the pick against the Niners. He should have wrapped more shallow. He went probably 4 or 5 yards too far.
At least 4. At least.
And it resulted in a pick. And for Andy Reid to say something that's not quite negative, it's like, it's a learning moment. That's him gently telling you, tighten it up, Rook. And that's why he's not on the field more, because he's still learning those things in Andy Reid offense. But the punt return thing, it's been bad. He's been very bad at it. He never did it in college. I don't know why they're insisting on pretending he's a punt returner, but now you don't have to.
No,
he did. He did do it a few times, and he was successful at that. They're not paying attention to the acquisition of the ball. They're paying attention to what happens after he has it in his hands. That's what they're hoping for.
But man, let Toney do it, because you know he can. You know he's excellent at it. So you move the needle there, and Andy Reid will have packages for him as the year goes along. Even that, because people talk about, it'd be like a niche role. I mean, niche roles win playoff games.
I have a theory on that. I want to know what you guys think.
Play.
I don't see this as adding a new piece, a new role, a new aspect to the offense. I see this as doubling down, because you have Mecole that can do these things that Toney can do. You have Skyy that can do these things that Toney can do. I think this is reinforcing this role. So you have somebody that clicks in. You're paying the Giants basically to go through what Skyy's going through right now and have it already done with, because he's had his growth moments. He's had his problems adjusting, right? You're expecting him to be able to be the professional, take the coaching, listen to Mecole and somewhat Skyy, because Skyy's, let's be truthful, he's been in this offense for 4 months.
He has.
He's got enough of a clue that Toney will need. And I think that's where it comes down to, is you have more weapons in that role now. And honestly, if you get 1 out of 3 to work, you're in business.
I really like that idea. It's redundancy.
It is.
It's like, for example, the reason I'm packing up my stuff right now is because my wife probably has 2 or 3 guys that can do all the things I can do that she'll leave me for.
They don't stream like this. So when you walk out, we'll handle the rest.
But, the thing that I'm curious about, because I think that redundancy is a big deal. You want guys who can do multiple things. I am curious. It's all going to come down, though, to the knucklehead aspect.
Yeah.
And I do think it's interesting, and I quote tweeted it, that he has already, and depending on your point of view on this, he has already had some tweets that have been deleted. And I would be willing to bet, not my last dollar, but let's say I had like $5 left to my name. I'd bet one of those that he tweeted, someone called his agent and said, just so you know, we don't do that. So he's going to need to go ahead and take that down. And the fact that he did, that's nice. And I'm just curious, because it's all going to be about buy-in. He did not have it in New York.
Right.
He was kind of a knucklehead in college. This is just a true thing.
Mm-hmm.
The NFL has a way of humbling people, because there's virtually no one that can get by in the NFL. There's no one who can be a star in the NFL without working their tail off.
Yeah.
People like some of the most physically talented players in history, Megatron, Randy Moss, Tyreek Hill, if you're talking receivers. So these unbelievable physical talents, you don't become that good without working incredibly hard at your craft. That's one reason why it's fun to listen to Randy Moss talk ball, because you realize how smart a player he is. how much he knows about the game. You have to work. Maybe Toney's got that. Maybe he doesn't. There are some players who are physically talented enough to be a role player without working incredibly hard because they're that 3% more physically talented, and that's enough. I'm curious what happens because in New York, you had Barkley as the only star there, really. His quarterback wasn't a star. His coach, I mean, it sounds like it was a nightmare there last year. You know, the kneel down on second down and like just a nightmare. And you can see a guy who already has some maturity issues struggling to buy in, thinking, what's the point? Even if I get open, I'm going to get missed. This scheme is ridiculous. And it was. Yeah. You can see how that would cause problems when you don't have an alpha that will get the respect of that rookie. I'm sure he respected Barkley, but Barkley got hurt. And he's
and you're not in the same position room every day.
He's not in the same position room or the quarterback.
Yeah.
And you need that. Whereas you come to the Chiefs, for one thing, Andy Reid dominates that locker room along with Patrick Mahomes. Mm-hmm. And there's a big difference between, oh man, this joker's not getting me, he's not getting me open, talking trash, saying crap in the locker room, whatever it is, when you're talking about Daniel Jones and doing it when it's Patrick Mahomes. Because that'll immediately become, like, here's an example. Training camp. Rashad Fenton was yelling about something. And Mahomes said, you're holding the whole time.
Every play.
And that's what you're asking for with the Chiefs is eventually Mahomes or Andy Reid will say something if someone in your position group doesn't. Juju Smith-Schuster is a veteran who's been in the league a long time who might be able to say something to him about, hey, I know what it means to burst onto the scene and think I'm going to own this league. And whoa, is it tough as injuries, as situation, whatever. I'm really curious about that because I feel like that's the big thing. That's why I asked about physically what you guys saw, because physically, this is a home run.
Yes.
This is like, holy cow, you get a first level talent for a third rounder and a sixth rounder with multiple years of control. That's awesome. Is he going to be a knucklehead? And I genuinely don't even, I have no idea.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I tweeted.
Neither does he.
Yeah. The first thing I tweeted was, this is going to either be an unbelievable success or a spectacular failure. I really don't see a lot of room for in between. I think this is either he does well, makes some impact, even if it's not like this incredible impact, but like makes some impact plays, you can tell, becomes part of the long-term plan and really plays very, very well, or he's not on the team in 2023. I don't know if there's a lot of in between there.
I think it also allows you to move on from Mecole. Like we said, he's going to get a contract with somebody else that's going to overpay him in my eyes. So now, again, that redundancy is shrinking, but you have the role still squirreled away. Right now, he's 755 against the cap this year. They've already paid out, 7 of his game checks. So he's somewhere around $500,000. So the Chiefs still have, as of this morning, 4.12. You're still talking 3.6. So that tells me OBJ is still on the table if he wants to take it. You can still try to work a trade for another rookie contract guy. There's still options out there. And so I think this is a lot of investment. I know people are fired up about third round pick. It's a compensatory pick. So it's really a fourth, folks. It's like it's going to be an over 100 pick.
Yep.
And you guys know how I feel about top 100 picks. So I'm okay with that. So the investment isn't terrible. And it gives you that redundancy for not just now, but for next year. So parting thought, Seth, as I know you need to go home and see the missus and give her my thanks for letting you come out and play tonight.
I absolutely will. One parting thought is that pea coats are highly, highly underrated. Okay. I mean, you put one of these on when you're wearing a collared shirt and tie, and you automatically become twice as attractive. And I need that. I try to drag myself up
Seth.
to average. It's just like, what can I do? A tie and a pea coat. Yes. That's classic, man. Doesn't go out of style. I expect to see you in a tie and a pea coat next time we do this, Ryan. A final
If
thought.
I owned a tie, I might consider it, but
I'm like dragging some of Times R's in here with me. Just
Right.
like, let's talk about peacoats for a little bit.
killing me, Smalls.
So I would just say a final thought in terms of Toney. I could see some of the missed opportunities with the Giants. Just Daniel Jones is playing better this year. He's using his legs really well, but he doesn't see the field. He just doesn't. Maybe that'll change. But you could Toney could have had 125 yards in week 1.
Yep.
With
Easy.
just like 3 different passes. And a couple of them would have had to be big plays. But I mean, he's a unique player. It's hard to get unique players. I'm excited for it. But I would tell Chiefs fans Josh Gordon was very different. He was way past it physically. But I mean, remember the health stuff. He did miss a ton of games last year, in addition to whatever's going on this year.
Mm-hmm.
Temper your expectations. And if he can be a really good punt returner and have a couple of flash plays every other week this year, that's a win.
Yep.
Because it adds to one of the things I said, and I'm really going to go after I say this, and you guys keep doing your thing. One of the things I'd comment on in terms of with Hill is that what we've seen through 7 weeks, they've got the highest EPA per play in the league. Their offensive ceiling is just as high. We saw that against the Cardinals. We saw that against the Bucs. We saw that against the Niners, especially. Their ceiling, when they're clicking, just as high as it ever was with Tyreek Hill. Their floor has been lower because you don't have you still have yards. You still have 2 guys that are better at creating and manufacturing yards out of thin air than most, right? You still have Patrick Mahomes. You still have Travis Kelce. Those are better than almost anyone else in the league at creating yards. But last year, you had 3 of the best, 8 guys in the league at doing that. This year, you have 2. And there's a difference. And we saw that against the Colts, in addition to all the mind-numbingly awful special team stuff. When things weren't going great, they couldn't just manufacture yards out of thin air. One 25-yard out of nowhere, whatever, by Tyreek Hill maybe changes that Colts game. Maybe changes that Bills game. You now have a 3rd guy who creates yards. Now, can he do all these other things that Tyreek Hill can do? No, absolutely not. 100%. Don't expect that. But he can create yards. He is a guy that can turn a 5-yard slant into a 30-yard gain. That's intriguing.
Yeah.
So with that, I'm going to leave you guys.
Thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate seeing you folks, the Chief in the North. Good night, buddy. All right. So, folks, we are going to move to your questions. Thank you for all of them. Thank you to FLDB and Cole for being our moderators tonight. The Morrow family is otherwise tied up, but we've expanded our number of mods. And if you want to get in the Discord, we are opening it up to our membership, but we're putting it out to the public so you guys can check it out. Check out bit.ly, RGR Nation. You can jump in there. And then if you want to get in, you come back, you join the memberships if you're not a member already. Here on YouTube, and that gets you synced and in the door. So let's get into it. Dean, thank you for your comment before. Appreciate that. And you seem to see what we see is that we can't put a huge expectation on him year 1, but he should be able to fill in some gaps that maybe they need some help with. So I'm feeling good about that. Demetrius, I feel like the Chiefs did this move because of the inconsistency and more. Do you believe that too? Not necessarily, but I think it gives them redundancy like we talked about before. Do you think they did this specifically because of Skyy struggles?
I don't. I think this was an opportunity for them to add an element to their offense that they don't have, that they lost because of Tyreek Hill. And it's not the deep speed. It's not I don't necessarily think it's going to be the huge punt returning, because I'm not counting on him being a huge punt returner like Tyreek Hill was or plays out of the backfield. It's a guy who can take a screen and where he's about to get tackled and turns that into 10 yards. You saw that all over his tape. He's got a guy right there and then he's gone. He just has that twitch that you don't see just about anywhere else. And when you have an opportunity to do something like that to an offense that is already really clicking, like Seth talking about the ceiling, you're just kind of taking that ceiling and you're putting it a little bit higher, and you're taking that floor and you're just raising it up a little bit. So I think they had an opportunity to get a really talented player, and they said, all right, let's do this.
Yeah. And I like that concept. Eric, need to know the roster moves the Chiefs add Toney. Bell and Duffy off IR, Niang off pup. We don't know if any of those moves have actually been made yet. So yes, they are coming. But I'll tell you, Najee Johnson, welcome back to the practice squad.
Yep.
You need to move one out. Other than that, I'd have to take a look, spot by spot, see what it was.
Maybe Justin Watson. See ya.
Maybe. I think they like what they got in him, though, but that's just me.
I don't disagree. It's just you're trying to find.
Yeah, you got to find numbers somewhere.
Something.
Yeah. Keaton, I wanted Toney in the draft. I was on the channel hammering into people's heads. Well, good for you, because I hope that it turns out the way you wanted, because so far his career has turned out exactly how I thought it would. A whole lot of nothing. So let's see if he can reboot. I hope so, and I hope in the end.
Talent, though.
No, not at all because of his talent. It's for me, it's all up here. And I can't say that he had the easiest go in that particular organization.
No, but
so let's hope that Keaton, in the end, you are correct. I am rooting for you. No more Skyy returning punts. I don't think it will hurt Skyy developing his receiver either. No, and I said this on Locked On Chiefs. I actually think this will help Skyy concentrate and not have to be under pressure internally or externally to be the returner. Just let him learn the offense and get better at it.
Yep. With you there.
For us, basically, Skyy's bigger, more speed, less route running. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that he's got more speed. I don't know.
I think he does.
Do you? Yeah. I'd have to go back and check the results, but
yeah. I see more like actual 4.3, 4.4 speed from like low 4.4 speed on tape from him. I didn't see that with Skyy. I saw more like mid 4.4s, 4.5 on his tape and his game speed. That's what I saw. But obviously we have now they'll be on the same field at times. At the same time, we'll kind of get to see a real comparison in that regard.
And I really think they'll be doing some similar things. Redundancy, swapping in and out for each other. I do see that coming. What does this mean for this year for Mecole? It seems like duplication of gadget plays. Yeah, that's fair info. But Mecole actually does the field stretching as well. He has the over routes now. He is more of the top three, whereas I do think that mostly Skyy and Toney will be in that relief niche kind of role.
Mecole's getting open on those over routes, guys.
Right.
Like he is open. Like this is not he's not getting open. He's actually getting open. So I think, again, it will be interesting.
Yeah.
If Mecole continues to have a season where he's getting open, like I wonder how much he's going to garner on the free agent market. I'm very interested to see that.
Yeah, I honestly, a big part of this is just guarding against that Mecole's going to have more interest than they thought, especially after last week. Like, interesting that it happens right now.
Right.
I mean, people are asking about, do you trade Mecole? If there's ever a time to trade Mecole, it's right now today.
Right now.
I don't know that his stocks can go up any more than a 3-tutty game. So, hey,
if he keeps up a touchdown a couple weeks in a row, I mean.
Yeah, you never know. But either way, I don't think that they had really intended to bring him back, let alone want to pay him for it. So
yeah.
Jaden, hope you're doing well. Check out Jaden's podcast here, TPT, you guys. So does this mean OBJ is out of the question? You answer first.
So I know people have reported that it doesn't mean that he's out of the question. Let's just be real about the situation the Chiefs are in. You bring in a rookie, Skyy Moore, okay? He's learning the system. You bring in Kadarius Toney. You bring in Juju Smth-Schuster. You bring in MVS. Bring in OBJ. Talking about 5 receivers all having to learn the system in the same year, that seems like a bit much to me. I know OBJ's been around and doing it for a while, but at the same time, he could probably be the only guy of these ones that could come in and play really high level because he knows the playbook. So I don't think he's out of the question. It's more about how do they feel about the weapons that they have, because you don't have to worry about trade deadline stuff. Has nothing to do with it.
Nope.
This is about absolutely nothing. Weeks down the road, is MVS getting open? Is Juju continuing what he's been up to? If not, I would think that he becomes far more of a potential add. But if they keep getting the plays that they have the last 2 weeks from MVS and Juju, it's more likely not, in my opinion.
I'm with you. And logistically, it certainly stays within the realm of possibility. I agree with you. She is on fire. Everyone say hi to Avery. She made it to another stream. I will say this, though. Your last caveat was the most important one. If anybody could come in and learn and participate, it is okay.
Yes.
This feels to me like hey, we made our stab at Odell and it's not going to work out. So we got somebody that can do something else to help the offense that isn't him.
Yep.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
But I will keep hope alive, folks. I will keep it burning because logistically, it could still be done.
It makes sense too. Honestly, it still makes sense.
It's one of those things. If you can't get a pass rusher that you want,
Double down.
That's the one thing that will help you on the defensive side. Make your strength that much stronger.
Yep. I'm with you there, man. If you can't get a pass rusher, all right. Hey, OBJ, let's go. Let's go.
you want ring. You want ring. I'm the captain now. Let's go. It's not that hard. Tyler, Tony McDuffie, Bell and Yang, where are the roster spots coming? We talked about that a little bit. Also, adding an edge feels like a must at this point to play in Buffalo in late January. And again, we agree. But if you can't get it, you can't get the value, and you only have the $4 million in cap space, you can't get blood from a stone. If no one's willing to give up a guy that you feel can help you, you're out of luck. So what do you do? Bottom line is you got to improve something to make this team more viable in Buffalo and everywhere else. So if you can't get it done, do this.
Yeah, I mean, we're also just kind of assuming the Bills win out. Like, I know they would have to lose 2 games and at some point more than the Chiefs. I understand all of that. It's not impossible for the Chiefs to get home field advantage. I don't think it's likely at this point, obviously. But again, weirder things have happened in the NFL. They still got to, and I know that people don't believe in the Jets, but I think the Jets have a lot of belief in themselves, and they got to play them twice still. You know, I think the Patriots could still always find a way to beat them. I don't ever count out Bill Belichick to take in a defensive, game plan that way. But, playing at home, it doesn't really matter. I think that Patrick would actually kind of welcome an opportunity to play in Buffalo.
Yeah.
So while I think most people think of it as something that they're not looking forward to, I'd be willing to bet Patrick is like, I will just circle that right now. I would love it. He
needs the motivation. I agree.
The team does.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think he's fine playing away. I think he's fine being down 10 points. Let's do it. He's ready for a playoff.
You don't care? He does not care.
KL brought up Justin Ross, another big possession receiver with upside. Yes, he has upside, but we just don't know if he'll ever be healthy enough to play again. That's why he wasn't drafted. That's why he's not on the roster now. It's about a health thing. We're not saying he doesn't have the possibility or the talent. Yeah. It's whether he can actually run down the dang field and survive it. So that's all. Tom, do you think we could see Toney involved in special teams returning kicks? Is it clearly Pacheco's job to lose if Moore doesn't stand up? I think this helps Pacheco too.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to be a kick returner. That doesn't seem like a niche for him. I've never seen him. I've never seen him kick return ever. It's a little bit different than punt returning in the sense that the lanes are
different,
much different. It's more like finding a lane and going. Punt returns, they have to set up the wall, and you kind of have to wait for it. But I don't know. I think Pacheco is going to have that job most of the season, in my personal opinion. I don't think that Toney does anything to change that. But, he hasn't had the best. We did finally see some life last week. He had a couple really nice returns, and that was something that he probably really needed to get his confidence back. So I'm thinking that he can build on that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I certainly hope so. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate you. Tom's got another one. Who is clearly the best route runner among the wideouts, including Toney? What are your thoughts on the wide receiver room? Best route runner is, probably in my opinion, Juju. The fact that it's not clear is an issue.
That exactly, and that's one of the reasons Toney's here. Like, getting open against man coverage has been a problem. And while Juju, I don't believe Juju consistently separates against man coverage. He's developing the route tree here, which is showing that he can still do it to some extent. I think the best route runner is Skyy Moore, but the problem is that the details of where to be on the field are making it seem like he's not. And that's really, to me, what's shadowing that. And why he's not playing more is because, again, you have to know where the quarterback wants you to be on the field at all times. It doesn't matter how good you run the routes if you're not in the right spot when you run those routes. So Juju has the refinement of knowing where to be right now. It seems like he and Patrick are starting to really get on the same page, which I love to see. And he does still have the route running because he's been in the league for a while now. So I will also lean Juju because of the understanding, but I think pure is still Skyy more.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, because I'm just thinking relative to right now.
Mhm.
That makes sense. Tom, thank you. Appreciate
Thanks,
the
Tom.
support, buddy. Rattler, thank you. Appreciate you as well. Appreciate you being here. Boogie, what you got? Schuster, very gregarious with players and names in the end. All Arius, Legarius, Tankarius. I like Tharkarius. That's my favorite. Who's coming next? I don't know of another one that I can think of that ends in Arius.
Off the top of my head, I got no one, guys. Excuse me.
Okay, I guess we're out. Thank you, though, Boogie. If you have one, let me know. I'm
right.
sorry.
If anybody got it, put it in the comments. I want to see some Ariuses.
Please, I'm in. Okay, that sounded bad. Brother Rick, thank you, sir. Chiefs want another punt returner, so Seth is right. Okay. Yeah, I know it's shocking. Seth is right. Yeah, this happens. It's okay. But yeah, again, if you have options there, now you have 3 guys that you can give that kind of thing to. And Avery even pointed out, I got to pull it up because it's a little bit lower down. Thank you, Rick. Appreciate you as always. But Avery has a good point that, when they needed that play at Florida, they used Toney to get it. Much like when everything wasn't going so great in the return game, hey, Tyreek, go back and take another one. Very similar in terms of that usage scenario for me.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that, again, I think I would lean more to punt than kick right now, because I do think that Pacheco's still growing, and he's shown some flashes whereas Skyy really hasn't had that opportunity and has been able to capitalize on his opportunities. And it really feels like his confidence in that area, there isn't any. So they need to switch up.
Gotcha. I'm okay for switching it up. Everybody gets something out of that, honestly. You push guys, even if they're good, you push guys, you get something out of it. I think get comfortable at being uncomfortable is a term they use. It's important. Lil Caddy, thank you. When I heard the news, I defaulted to what Dan said, 5'11", 190, 4'3". Who does that sound like? But I love the depth and hopeful based on the San Francisco game. Caddy, thank you for the support. And I agree with you. I think we're all very hopeful right now. What could it become? I mean, honestly, here's the really cool thing. You get to the point where teams want to try to come after you more. Go 4 wide, put Toney and Hardman in the slots, and let Juju and MVS have the outside.
Yeah, this brings us back to that little idea we had a couple nights ago with Chase Claypool in the slot. Now you've got some legit twitch in the slot with him. So yeah, let him ride, man.
I live for putting in coordinators on either side in a WTF moment. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Thanks, Caddy. Metal, hope you're doing good. Glad to see you back. Does this trade bode well for Hardman on his return next year? No, I think this is insurance against it, to tell you the truth. And also, do they get a rusher? Dan, do you think that they get something else done on the defensive side before the deadline?
I'm right now, because we didn't see this coming. I'm thinking yes. I think that they are very well aware of not only what the Eagles have been looking to do in terms of sniffing around Kareem Hunt, Christian McCaffrey, landing Robert Quinn. They are looking to upgrade their team and give themselves a chance to, obviously not only still draft next year with the amount of picks that they have, keep themselves young, but also win that Super Bowl this year. Yeah,
because in the end, an experienced player now for a 3rd-round pick is a pretty good bargain as long as you think you can get him on the field. For me, it's about the injury and the attitude for Toney. I see plenty of physical capability.
Yeah, for sure.
Remember, and thank you for this one too, Avery. Remember when the Dolphins beat up the Patriots and in case he ended up on the home field? As Dan said, crazier things can happen.
It's the NFL. Things are weird, man. Especially this season. This season's been nuts.
Yeah.
So yeah,
you guys check out what Avery's laying down with the analyzing draft impact. You want to check it out. And Avery, get back to me about what we talked about as well.
Do it.
Let's see. Now defensive end is and all tasks are complete. Good point, Doug. Yeah, that would round it out really nicely, right? And then all of a sudden, OBJ isn't a question anymore, right? Like, oh, they got 2 things done. They were able to augment and go forward towards the championship. That's what it's all about, right? Josh, I've been watching and subscribed for a minimum of 5 years. Well, thank you, dude.
Woo, loving it.
Woo, that's awesome. But 2 questions. Do you see them using Josh Kando at all? Also, is it just me the Chiefs play harder on the road? You definitely nailed the second one. I think that revolves around Mahomes. I think he likes being the underdog. Yeah. So I'm totally with that. Do you see them using Kando? Kano performed a little bit better in the preseason than I expect him to, but he hasn't gotten a rep. I mean, is he practice squad at this moment?
I think so. I don't know if
I
he's
think
on the
so,
roster.
too.
I don't think he is. I know Malik Herring is. Like, that shows you what they think about Herring.
Right. Herring's getting reps in games. So
I just think Kando's not good.
he hasn't developed in Kansas City, that's for sure.
That's what you're hoping for when you take someone in the 5th round that has the athletic traits. They develop. Right. That's what it is. It's a hope. It's a lottery shot, you know. And then unfortunately, we haven't seen it. And this happens to so many players. Like, the vast majority of NFL players that get drafted and make it don't end up in the league for if they are there, it's a very short time. So it's unfortunate that he hasn't developed to that point. I'm still hoping. I think they are too. That's why he's still on the practice squad. So you never know. But at this season, I say no.
Well, and I'll tell you this too. Don't even be too down on him. Him, Justin, Jalen Pacheco, this year, everything. This is a luxury that winning teams get, because you don't have to fill 10 spots on a roster. You get to take some chances on guys with a trait that you really like, and they don't have to be fully well-rounded, because you're going to develop the one thing you think can make them special and see if they can make the roster. That doesn't happen for, teams at the bottom. Carolina can't afford to do that. They need to spread it out and bolster everything. Thanks, Josh. Appreciate you.
It.
The Nihilist, thank you very much. Appreciate you as well. This channel doesn't revolve without you guys watching, so cheers. And if you are new to us, make sure you get subbed, because we do a ton of work around here. And hit this thumbs up for this one if you would. We're going to wrap it up, I think, with Tracy. I'm going to do one more check. Make sure if anybody squeezed anything past me, because you guys know. Oh, of course, KL did. You guys know how I feel about that. So let's get to Tracy's. Might have answered this because I'm late. When do you think Toney will play? That's a really good question. Acquiring him now means that he'll be there for the full week of practice.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're going to try to just let him take some punts, kicks, you could do that in a week. I think that's within the realm of possibility. I tend to not think so, but what do you think?
I don't know. This right now seems to me that they want to get him at least a package. You saw what the 49ers were able to do with Christian McCaffrey coming over in less than a week. Like, less than a week, they had a package for him. Boom, it was ready to go. Actually, I think it was like 2 days. It was 2 days they had a package for him. So I'm willing to bet, and now that doesn't mean that it will actually get involved, especially depending on how the game goes against the Titans. Like, say they go up big, leave the package in the back pocket. Need to play, need something, because you guys, I know the Titans don't look very good. Their defense comes to play every week. It doesn't matter who's out there. They have them coached up. They're a very well coached group. They will find ways to confuse and get after Patrick Mahomes. That's what they do best. So maybe they need to play, need a couple plays. Hey, go out there and make something happen. Like, that's very possible. I can see that happening. So
yeah, see what you got.
With a week and a half of prep, or close to a week and a half of prep, I think that they get at least a package ready for him. But also, go return some punts, field a little bit, see what we got.
And think about the group that he's joining. You run him out there as the fourth receiver, go run an air around and attack that middle linebacker, see what we get.
That's right. We'll put you in a reduced split, see if you get a linebacker on you. If you do, oh boy.
Right. It's money in the bank. All right. Just do what you do. We'll figure the rest out, whether you're doing what you're supposed to do later.
You'll be the third read. Find space. Patrick will find you. That's not something that James Jones ever did. So, yeah.
Thank you, Doug. Good point. If you guys had hit the like for us, that would help. We always get around to more Chiefs fans when you guys do that. So thank you. After sitting on the 49ers film, how do you feel like the rookie DBs are doing?
So they're rookies. That's pretty obvious. But I think that Joshua Williams took a step up from the Bills game to this game. He looked more comfortable. Obviously, that first game that's starting kind of gets under your skin a little bit. Again, I think Jalen Watson looks relatively the same as he has the last couple of games. He looks comfortable. And the big problem for both, in my opinion, is that they're just being put sometimes in situations where they can't succeed, which is based on blitzing, and hopefully you get to the quarterback. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So we get to kind of see when they're lined up, for example, Jalen Watson one-on-one with George Kittle. I don't expect him to win that matchup. That's not his fault. That's because Spags is like, I'm going to blitz him, and I'm hoping I'm going to get to him. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with it. So
I'm glad you bring up that one, because I was going to too. This is the disease of, hey, you did this pretty good. We're happy with that. Now we're going to give you X, Y, and Z. You got to do now.
Yeah.
You're going to run into a ceiling here, and that's okay. I agree with you. I think they're all doing pretty well. I'm happy with Cook's rebound. I thought he was a little little chaotic. Obviously, let his temper get out of control. He's settled down. He has gotten back to making plays on the ball. I'm happy with that. I think I agree with you. I think Williams will come around rather quickly, to tell you the truth. I just hope that Fenton's return doesn't mean he doesn't get any reps. I think they need to platoon those guys.
I'm with you there.
I really hope so, man. Tom, thank you. I think this will be our last one. Well, this team, we see this team gelling through the season. Do you hope that this team will be able to evolve come the playoffs? How good can they be by then? Great job. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate you. How good can this team be? What's the ceiling, Dan?
The ceiling is the best team in the NFL. I think it's kind of what we've seen already. They put up in my opinion, half decent performance against the Bills on offense. They put up a really good performance on defense. I know most people don't think so. 17 points for 90% of that game. That's a hell of a performance from the defense. And the offense just wasn't consistently all there. And I think actually, if you listen to Travis Kelce's podcast, he talks about how the energy felt different in that game. Like they weren't engaged the whole time. That becomes a problem from times. They're not always engaged. They were against the 49ers. If that offense shows up and you get this defense getting healthy, and again, if you get something out of a punt returner from Kadarius Toney, he adds a couple plays week to week, maybe, we're talking about the best team in the NFL. That's within the realm of possibilities, and it's actually closer to more of a likelihood than not, in my opinion.
I'm with you. I think this is a Super Bowl champion potential team.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's just what it is. Especially when you look at the landscape of the NFL, Bills, Eagles, Chiefs. I mean, who else is good? I don't know.
No, neither is anybody else.
no one knows who's good.
Believe in themselves and they'll get there. FLDB, hit me up after this. And yes, I will try to talk to you while I'm cooking dinner. I need to do some key things. Thank you, Tom. Thank for all of you who joined the channel tonight. All you new subs, everybody with a thumbs up. Thank you all very much. We were only going to go 20 minutes, but hey, look what you got. Half an hour turned into an hour. That's awesome. Thanks for jumping on, Dan.
No problem.
Now, if they do something crazy and do another move in the next couple days, you'll get instant reaction from me. We'll try to include everybody who's available. You never know. We all have families. We're doing stuff, but we'll get there. In the meantime, enjoy your down weekend because it's going to pick up pace here pretty quick. 10-game stretch to end this season. I think there's a lot of upside. We will have more for you. Seth's actual pre-recorded normal video will come out tomorrow. Dan's got a film thing coming out tomorrow. I've got 2 shorts that were going to come out tomorrow. They might come out Saturday now. We got a ton for you. Make sure you're subbed and you'll get it all. Thank you for spending your time with us tonight. We'll talk to you tomorrow.